Imagine a map so incredibly detailed that it actually starts moving the rivers it's supposed to be drawing.
Right, which sounds completely backwards.
Exactly. You'd think a map just, reflects the landscape. But today, we are taking a deep dive into a stack of notes in a fascinating essay titled Why Observation Changes the World Observation X Reality. And it proves that the very act of measuring the world is, well, it's actively warping it.
It really is. And I mean, if you are a manager looking at company KPIs, or a student taking standardized tests, or honestly just someone scrolling social media,
Which is pretty much all of us.
right, then this deep dive is going to completely change how you view the metrics and the dashboards in your life.
So to set the stage here, what is the big idea we are unpacking?
The core thesis here is that observation isn't just this neutral, passive camera recording facts from the outside. The act of observing acts as a filter. It actively interferes with and changes the future path of reality itself.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second because I want to make sure you, our listener, are on the same page. Seeing something doesn't physically change its molecular structure.
No, definitely not.
So if I look at a coffee cup on my desk, it doesn't just turn into water. Is this some kind of quantum physics thing where looking at a particle moves it?
I am so glad you asked that because no, it is absolutely not about quantum mechanics, and it's not about consciousness magically altering physical matter either.
Okay, good. That would be a very different deep dive.
Yeah, a much weirder one. We are talking about observation interference as a social process.
Yeah.
Basically, reality is this massive, infinitely complex flow of raw data. And human institutions just can't process infinite complexity.
We'd be completely paralyzed.
Exactly. So we slice it up, we create a metric or a dashboard, and in doing so, we are deciding what is a signal and what gets discarded as noise.
Oh, I see. So it's less like taking a perfect photograph of reality and more like drawing a map. Like if you only decide to draw the paved roads, people navigating with your map might completely forget the forests even exist.
That is a perfect analogy. And the danger is that over time, those forests essentially cease to exist as an actionable reality for that society.
Because no one is looking at them.
Right. Resources aren't sent there. Trail maintenance isn't funded. The map has literally changed the future reality of the landscape just by defining what matters and what is invisible.
Which brings us to a really fascinating real-world example from the essay, The Current Boom in AI Data Center Construction.
Yes, this is such a great way to visualize it.
Because at a basic level, it's just a single physical event, right? A giant building filled with servers going up in a local town.
But the sources point out that this one event makes contact with multiple, what they call observational surfaces.
Right.
So if you were looking through the lens of the tech industry, that building is a massive expansion of AI capability. It's progress. But through the financial sector's lens,
It's just a highly concentrated node of capital investment.
exactly. Now, shift to the local energy sector. They don't see AI models. They see this terrifyingly massive new demand on the power grid.
And the water management folks probably just see a gigantic cooling load that could drain their reservoirs, while local residents are just seeing, spiking housing costs and changes in land use.
Spot on.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second. At the end of the day, it's still just one building.
Yeah.
Aren't these just different opinions on the exact same reality?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the text makes a very firm distinction. These are not opinions.
They're not.
No, because an opinion is a subjective feeling. The water shortage caused by the cooling systems is a hard physical reality. The power drain on the grid is a physical reality. They are all entirely true at the exact same time.
Okay, that makes sense. So where does the interference happen?
The true danger is when society treats just one of these surfaces, let's say the technological expansion of AI, as reality itself. When that happens, all the other very real pressures, like the local water shortages, just vanish from the decision-making process.
Oh, wow. Because we aren't measuring the water, we act like the water isn't disappearing.
Exactly. The observation creates boundaries that dictate where money, power, and attention actually flow.
Okay, so we've established that focusing on one metric obscures the others. But how does this actually alter human behavior? Because the sources talk about observation interference happening in two distinct directions, right?
Yeah, they divide it into external and internal interference.
Yeah.
What we just talked about, metrics moving institutional resources, that's external.
Like unemployment stats moving labor policy.
Right. Or crime stats pulling police presence into specific neighborhoods, which, often just leads to finding more of that crime, creating this self-reinforcing loop. Or national AI rankings redirecting billions in capital, that's external.
But the internal interference, here's where it gets really interesting for me, because this is where it gets deeply personal for you, the listener.
It really does.
hmm
Internal interference is when the observed subjects, meaning us, actively adapt ourselves to the metric.
I mean, this is basically Goodhart's law, right? When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
That is the exact mechanism.
We see this in companies all the time. Employees optimize for short-term KPIs even if it ruins the company long-term. Or in schools, a standardized test is brought in just to check if kids are learning. But within a few years, the entire school system is just optimizing for test scores.
Right. Teachers start drilling kids on multiple choice questions instead of actually teaching the broader subject. And we see the same exact thing on social media.
Oh, definitely.
Users know the platform measures reach and engagement, which usually rewards extreme emotion. So users internally adapt. They start posting more inflammatory content, not because they are inherently angry people, but because the observation system demands it.
It's like, okay, it's like starting with a thermometer just to check the temperature of reality. But suddenly it turns into a thermostat that literally forces reality to heat up or cool down to match whatever number is on the dial.
That is a brilliant way to look at it.
Yeah.
The ultimate reversal that the text points out is precisely this. Metrics begin by measuring reality, but eventually reality reorganizes itself to fit the metric.
The device is no longer just explaining the world.
No, it's actively producing a world that suits the device.
That is honestly wild to think about, because if reality is constantly warping to fit these metrics, what happens to us now? I mean, literally everything is measured today.
Yeah, we are surrounded. The sources call this modern era the sensor civilization.
Sensor civilization. Okay, break that down for us.
So historically, society was based mostly on rules and execution.
Yeah.
You pass a law, and if someone breaks it, eventually they go to court. The feedback loop was very slow. But today, we've shifted to a society based on continuous measurement and immediate adjustment. We have satellites, urban sensors, massive financial algorithms, and AI recommendation systems constantly tracking and ranking everything we do.
So AI isn't just like writing emails or generating images anymore.
Not at all. It is compressing vast amounts of human reality and constantly ranking what matters in real time.
If we're living in this sensor civilization, how does this shift traditional ideas of power? Because it feels like the people pulling the levers aren't just politicians anymore.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, power fundamentally transforms here. It's no longer just about issuing top-down commands or owning a factory. Power today is holding the design rights of the observation system.
The design rights, meaning the ability to decide what the thermostat is even looking for in the first place.
Exactly. It's the authority to decide what can be measured, what data is kept in logs, and what is discarded. It's deciding what counts as an anomaly.
Whoever defines the categories controls the reality.
Right. The text argues that AI models are essentially becoming our new cognitive operating system.
Cognitive operating system, like an OS on a phone, but for society.
Yes. An OS manages how software talks to hardware. Our new cognitive OS dictates how society makes contact with reality. It decides what we perceive as a risk, what we see as a success, and what timelines we care about.
Okay, I have to ask, though, on behalf of everyone listening, what does this all mean for us? Because on paper, having more data, more sensors, a highly efficient cognitive OS, that generally sounds like a good thing. It optimizes supply chains, it finds diseases faster. Where is the downside to knowing so much?
It does sound great on paper, but the text gives a really strong warning about the danger of an over-observing civilization. When every single action is recorded, instantly evaluated, and optimized, society loses its margins.
Margins, like the blank space on a page.
Sort of, yes. The unobserved spaces. Think about it. If human behavior is constantly measured and corrected, we completely lose the capacity for uncompleted trials. We lose the freedom to make local deviations, to just try something inefficient or weird to see what happens.
Because the moment you do something weird, the sensor flags it as an anomaly, and the thermostat kicks in to fix you.
Exactly. And in evolutionary biology, mutations, the things that allow a species to survive new threats, they happen in the margins.
Right.
If you optimize away all the margins so that data looks clean on a dashboard, the whole system becomes incredibly brittle. The world shapes itself merely to be easily understood by the sensors.
We are paving over the forest just so the map is perfectly accurate.
That's exactly what's happening. And that's why a healthy civilization OS actually requires unobserved spaces. It needs times where there's no immediate evaluation. It needs logs that allow for things to be reinterpreted later, rather than just permanently categorizing you in real time.
We need room to breathe, room to be messy and human.
We absolutely do.
This has been such a mind-bending deep dive. We started with the illusion of the neutral camera and ended up at the architecture of our modern AI society. And to you, listening to this, the big takeaway is that you are both the observer and the observed.
You really are.
You're constantly adapting your behavior to fit the metrics placed on you, and you're using metrics to judge the world around you. So, the next time you are staring at a dashboard at work or stressing over a social media metric, remember to pause and ask yourself, what reality is this metric completely failing to capture, and how is it secretly changing my behavior just by measuring it?
Because the metric is never the whole world. It is just one very specific filter.
We just have to learn to see the filter. Which leaves us with a final, lingering thought to mull over today. The sources ask if something that isn't observed even exists to society anymore.
It's a heavy question.
It is, but think about this in your own life. In a future perfectly optimized by continuous AI measurement and endless metrics, will the ultimate luxury and perhaps the most valuable human trait of all eventually be the ability to remain completely unmeasurable?